Hello, welcome to my first video tutorial for Sketchup 3D Easy Modeling, and this video is going to cover the basics in Sketchup, how I like to set up my Sketchup environment, and some other tips and tricks to get you started. So I'm assuming that you've already went to the internet to Sketchup.com and downloaded the free version of Sketchup. The Pro version, which costs $500 I believe, is not really, you shouldn't really need it, and we'll go over, I do have SketchUp Pro, and I'll have a couple other videos later on that kind of show what the benefits of layout can be, which is a buddy program to Google SketchUp. But for right now, let's open up SketchUp and get started with the basics. So this is how I've set it up. Now when you first open up SketchUp, it's going to ask you which template that you want to be in. This is a template that I've created as a default. I like this, and these are all my toolbars. I have these basically where I like them, and there's a lot more toolbars in the View Toolbars menu. A lot of them that you don't need, as you can see. You may need them at some point, but these are the ones for solar design that I use quite frequently. The large toolbar set, the shadow bar is a big one. This is an interesting plugin right here. Frito makes a good plugin that I use often enough where I have it out. And the sandbox tools, I could almost close this one. Get into that later. But basically, it's just there's a few of these up here that we're going to need, and I'll talk about. So I leave a little bit of room up here for my for scenes once we get into scenes. So for right now, let's go ahead and I'm going to restore all of my. They didn't pop up. Okay, well, let's go ahead and grab out the window what other things that need to be pulled up and in your face at all times. Oops. So let's go ahead and grab out the materials box and minimize it with a single click, and then components, and we'll minimize that with a single click, and then stick them together. Styles, we'll get the scenes box, shadow box, soften edges, and maybe entity info for now. That'll do. That's enough for now. These are the most common ones I like to have out, and then I kind of just minimize them and then dock them together, and they stick together. That way they can be moved around. And I keep them over here on the side. That way I have this large area right here to work with in the middle. So let's go over the basics first. We have all these tools up here. There's a lot of things. Starting with the square, the rectangle tool. You can also do a square. You just click in one point and then drag out. And you can see up here in my measurements box, also down here below there's another measurements box. It's kind of just showing you what the dimensions are as you pull that rectangle out. So if we just click, we've created a plane, and SketchUp works with two things to make all of their geometry. You have edges, which are these bounding black lines, and you have faces. So I could delete the face, and I'm left with just the edges, or I could. A face only shows up when it's bounded by edges all the way around. So if I delete an edge, and this is not a closed shape, then it's just edges, and this will continue to be just edges until this is all on the same flat plane. So as I connect these, it should have a shape with a face. Okay, so the square tool. Can make a square, and that's about 14 feet 10 inches square, and then I could say, without touching anything else, I could say, well, let's make it 10 feet square. So 10 foot, comma, 10 foot the other direction, and now we've got a 10-foot square. And I could change it again as long as I don't change anything else. If I just retype in the numbers, make it a 15-foot square. 15 foot, comma, 15 foot. Yeah, so we can change the size over and over until we get what we like. Now, one of the most unique tools to SketchUp is this tool right here, which is the push-pull tool. And the keyboard shortcut for the push-pull is the letter P. So press P, come over here to this square, and I can pull it up, or I can push it down. So it's push-pull, push-pull, and I can do that many times on any side that has a face. These are a face. I can go ahead and modify that by just clicking once and then playing around with it. And that's the push-pull tool. Now there's with any tool, if you click and hold the control button, see a little plus sign that just popped up? If I press control, that's going to create a copy. And with most tools, like the rectangle tool, the select tool, they all have like something different that they'll do if you press the control key on the keyboard. And in this case, it's just creating like another plane. So you can see as it left a line here, so it's creating a whole nother section. Whereas if I just click this, I can it's not creating another section. And actually, if I go back to all the way back to where it came from, it deletes it, which is an interesting trick as well. Okay, so what other tools are there? We have the circle tool. Let's just click at the origin here, and then drag out. We have the radius, just gets this done by radius, so we can do a 5-foot radius. And P for push-pull, we can make a column, right? Or right. So that's the circle tool. One thing about the circle tool is once you select, C is the shortcut for circle, you can see it's automatically set for the number of sides that are in the circle. So this circle actually has, you can see it's made up of segments, line segments. So this is one segment, that's a segment, that's a segment, and we can change that number. So I could make a triangle inside the circle by just saying I want to give this circle before I click it. So let's just hit 3. So 3 has shown up in our measurement box, and now 3, enter, and now I've got a triangle tool. So now I can make triangles. Okay, start diving. Okay, so that is, and the same thing you could do a rectangle. C for a circle. 4, tell it to make a square. This will actually make a square, not a rectangle. So perfect squares. Or you could do 5-sided. So there's some good flexibility there with the circle tool, and I'm just going to go ahead and change it back to the default 24. Now, just so you know, as a SketchUp good SketchUp pointer, any sort of geometry with 24-sided circles or arches even is going to, the more you have it in your model and the more complex your models get, the slower it will be, because if you pull a circle up like this, you get this nice sphere or this nice cylinder, and this cylinder here can be it can be kind of a ram hog on your computer as your geometry becomes more complex and the models become more complex. So just beware that you might be able to get away with with like, let's say, a 12-sided circle instead. They still do the trick. They still come up nice and smooth on the face. So just something to be aware of as you move through. Other tools, we have the arch tool. So you can click in one point, drag it out, and then click the second point, and then you can basically drag to make the arch. And after you've made an arch, you can it's got this kind of interesting, it'll follow the tangent of the vertex. You can make these cool shapes. Or you can just snap them to a good, so we've kind of made like a lima bean, peanut type shape with the arch tool. What else? We've got the offset tool. This F for offset, excuse me, yes, offset tool. This can create, from any shape, it can create an offset, so we can go like 6 inches in. That shape is huge. Can't really see, but there is a 6-inch. Shape is so large, so let's make it a little smaller. .120 by 120, which is a 10-foot square. Ooh, it's huge. Okay, zooming in here with the scroll wheel, and if I use the offset tool again, I can make a 6-inch, like a 6-inch wall per se, let's say, and then I can either use control, or I can just push-pull it without, or use control. I like to use control. It's a good habit to get into a good habit. Pull this down 16 inches to represent the floor partition, and there you go. You've got a small crazy room with no windows and doors. Delete that. And so that's the offset tool. The offset tool also works the other way. You can pull an offset out however number of times you want. Great tool. Works with curves. Works with curves very well. And so you can do some interesting things. The tape measure tool. We can grab and tape 17'6" up here. You can see up here you get different numbers, different measurements. If I click, once again, there's a control function for this. So if I click the control on the keyboard and then hit on, not on a point, but on any sort of line, and then drag it out in the middle of any line, I can create a guideline. And I can create a guideline from a guideline, and I can inference it to, I can go to the other side. So you can do many things. Pull a guideline off this way. Kind of just a mess. Okay. Back to the origin here. Okay, so other tools, we've got push-pull, the move tool. If I select this whole object, I can move it by clicking on it and moving it somewhere. Move it on the red axis, on the green axis. Move it on the blue axis, which is the vertical axis. And I can also create, so if I hit control, I can move it, but just create a moved copy of it. So I can create a copy by hitting control, and that little plus sign shows up, and now I'm creating copies of that shape. And if I change the shape, okay, and then move it, M is the keyboard shortcut for the move tool. So you want to get used to using your keyboard shortcuts. Control for the move copy, and we can move copies that new shape now. And notice how when I move this shape, if I just hit Control during the move, it's saying, okay, you changed your mind, you want to move copy. Okay, we're moving a copy now. And I can inference to there, so you can do some really neat stuff with move copy. Rotate. This tool right here can rotate so Q is the keyboard shortcut for rotate, and if I click in a point and then grab on any other point on this object, it'll swing it from that point. So from this point right here, it's saying, okay, you want to swing. And then you can tell it to do 45 degrees, 180 degrees, 270, 90, whatever, 360, which will just go back to the original spot. Now the same thing with the move tool. If you hit Control, you can create a copy. So if I wanted to create a copy, make like a saw blade looking type thing, 20 degrees, and then X, which represents multiply. Let's redo that. 18 times, and I've got like a kind of weird looking saw blade. So, just some interesting things in SketchUp. What else? So we covered the Follow Me tool. We can do a quick one with that. We'll get more into that later, but we can have a path be followed. So if I just create any sort of path, it doesn't matter which, how this path goes, just as long as it's all connected. It can be all over the place, diagonal. And then let's just create a star. And let's just make it a really crude one. So a really crude star here. If I click on the face, if I select this whole path, so let's just select this whole path and then select all of that, and then click that last remaining part of the path, and then say, okay, follow me. It's going to follow the path that we just selected with this shape. So I kind of got this star that kind of started on one side and then went to the other. That's a quick demonstration of what the Follow Me tool can do. We'll get more into that later, but for right now, that is the Follow Me tool. Can do many different things. So the scale function, we can scale a box down. So triple select to select everything. You triple select on any object. It'll grab everything that it's connected to that's ungrouped. And we click the scale tool, or the shortcut for the scale tool is, once again, if I select everything, S for scale, and then we can scale uniformly from diagonally. We can skew it, stretch it that way, skew it, stretch it this way. We can stretch it that way, skew it, or we can hold Control and we can uniformly squeeze it down to 0. You can see the scale up here. We scaled it to -15. I wonder what happens when we scale it to 0. Invalid, okay. We could scale it to 0. Yeah, so we can make it really, really small. We just made it, well, it's still 1,000 feet, so I guess it's pretty big. Okay. What else? We've got the hand tool up here. The hand tool can something funky's going on there. Okay. buggy. The hand tool can move us around the environment, although I never use the hand tool ever. If I could take it off of this large toolbar, I would, just because it's a waste of space for me. So one of my best pointers for new SketchUp beginners is how to use a external mouse. You don't want to be playing with SketchUp with a laptop mouse. You want to be using an external mouse, and one that has a scroll wheel. Now the scroll wheel, if you just scroll up and down, it zooms in and out. If you click and hold it, it's turned into this tool, the orbit tool. So if I just grab the orbit tool and I just left click and just I can kind of click and then spin, click, spin, click, move to the left. I can spin this thing, move it the other way, spin it that way. If I grab the hand tool, I can move it. But here's the great thing. So if I just have any old tool like the rectangle, I can do all of that with the shift, the scroll wheel on the mouse and the shift key. So if I scroll, if I click and hold the scroll wheel and then move my mouse, that becomes the orbit tool. So if I'm holding down the scroll wheel right now and I can shake it. If I hold down the scroll wheel and I hold shift, now look what's happened. Now I have the hand. So I can move around this model very well. I can move around it, kind of get where I want to be just with the shift key and the scroll wheel, and all the while having the rectangle tool. So I was going around this thing, putting in some windows and some doors. I can do that easily. Pretty easy stuff. Okay. Other stuff, there's the zoom tool, which, like I said, if you click the zoom tool, you can go up and down, left or right. It zooms in and out, but that's also better done with the scroll wheel. And that's basically everything on the eraser tool. You can erase any of the edges with the erase tool, or you can just click and hold, and then just kind of go crazy, click and hold, and you can erase everything that you want. That's the way I prefer to erase. Back there. The paint bucket tool. Once you hit the paint bucket tool, this automatically opens up. It is your paint materials dialog box, and you can just paint colors. You can just do however you want. And that's you have many different things you can choose from. Roofing, translucent, wood, water, vegetation, cladding. We could put siding on here. Translucent, put some window pane, something that has a cloud reflection, or it just doesn't have one. Maybe it has the glass blocks. Lots of different stuff to choose from. So plenty of stuff to make real accurate, visually appealing models for whatever you are looking to do. So that's basically everything on here. If I didn't touch on anything, then let me know and I can make a video on it specifically. But those are basically what the tools that I use the most. Things like the freehand tool, I don't think anybody really ever uses that so much, but you can use the other tools. I just don't use them, probably not at all, really. But you may use those tools. I do not. So that is basically the large toolbar set. Here we have the shadows dialog box. If I click this right here, I can hide and show shadows. This represents the months of the year, right here, and this represents the time of the day. And that can represent the sweeping of the sun on August, between August and September, and this would be the time of day. And this is geolocated. If you can geolocate this to your exact location so that it'll be exactly the way that the sun comes through in your location, because it's different all the way all over the world. The sun in relation to your location on Earth, it will be different anywhere you are. So that's the shadow dialog box. Then we have the Frito scale. This is a plugin. I won't get into this in this video. There's different styles. We can do the see-through style, hidden lines, so we can see lines from behind, wireframe. This is hidden line as well. Shaded. So this is without textures, and this is with textures. And monochrome. Monochrome is very good to work with if you don't have a very powerful computer. You also want to work with without hidden line on. The K is the shortcut to turn on hidden line, which is useful sometimes to see points that you want to snap to underneath. But monochrome is very good. You also don't want to work with shadows on if you don't have a very fast computer. It'll really slow you down. You just turn them on when you need them. But monochrome is a very fast way to do SketchUp modeling and have a less than adequate computer to be able to handle what we need to do. Other things are the views. We could have plan views, isometric view, overhead view, and then all of the plan views for the typical architectural drawings. If we go to the Solar North tool, it shows us where Solar North is. And it kind of just gives you, which is really helpful if you have, if you're going to basically model a house and the house isn't exactly facing due south or due north. It's, if the house is off in a different direction. If you get a house facing this way, go back to my overhead view, this is facing southeast. Grab my protractor here, I can tell you that this house is, and it'll snap. It's 143 degrees. So up here in this box, 143 degrees, 143.6 degrees, so southeast is what that house would be facing. So that's the Solar North tool. Very, very handy in SketchUp analysis, shading analysis, making sure you have the exact degree of where the house is facing. Super, super important. Other things, so these component boxes I opened up to the right here, these are basically the ones that I use the most, and the two that I really use the most here are the materials box and the components box, which I have preloaded already a bunch of components that I use. I've created a bunch of components. I've also preloaded some components from elsewhere, from the 3D warehouse, which you could type right here, and you could get anything you want from the 3D warehouse. You can get a fish. There's just unbelievable amounts of things already made in the warehouse for you that are ready and there for you. But I've created a bunch for solar components just for building my models that helps me build with speed. And so these two materials and components are the ones that I use the most. You just single click on them to open them, or single click to shut them. Shadow settings, we can go to 1221. Lowest point the sun is in the sky in Seattle, Washington, where we are. And we can go to like noon, and we can design for 12 o'clock at noon on that day and then we can make the light lighter and the shadow darker. So different things, different options. The scenes dialog box, I'm just going to quickly go through this. So I can create scenes. I can create a scene with a rectangle and say, okay, create a scene. Now we have a scene up here. This is also why I keep this toolbar, this tool set lower, so that I can still work up there. And so I've created a scene here, and now if I go like over here, let's see, if I go over here somewhere, make another one, and create another scene, Now I have two different, if I just click on this, it's going to navigate back and forth to my two scenes. So you can do different things, and maybe you want to show the back side of this house on the third scene. So this just helps you to better visualize your models and do different things. The scene's really helpful, very helpful tool. Soften edges. We can soften any edges of any group, so I can make this box turn into just a very soft, no edges. Now, once you make it that soft, you can't push-pull it anymore. You can't do any sort of manipulating to it, but you can always go back and change that. So that's helpful sometimes. That's why I have it open. The styles box. When you first come into SketchUp, it asks you. Basically, you're going to be in this style, which is a simple. I just happen to like the engineering style with textures. That's my favorite one to model in, and I've just gone ahead and saved it as my template, and then made it the default template. Which, as soon as you give it a name, you can save it as the default template, which I've already done. But there's plenty of styles in here to choose from. There's more in this drop-down menu. There's some really cool, interesting styles. If you really want to show that this is kind of a sketch, it's not really anything that's very definitive. It's just conceptual. There are great sketchy styles to help you kind of just let them know that this is in sketch form only. Basically, is what you're saying with something like this. And you can still edit in this style. So a style is just unique to your model and a way to display it. There's some pretty good ones, but the default styles, the engineering. Let's see here. Shaded with textures. Shaded with textures. That's the one I like. It's a nice white environment. Like a drafting table. I like this environment, so that's the one I choose, and I recommend that. Entity info. You can create things into components, into groups. So I could turn this into a component and name it box. And now in my entity info, it's giving me the information for this, and it also gives me the volume of it, the name. I could put it on a different layer. I could name that layer, and it's just another way to get more information on your components. So really powerful stuff. So that pretty much is a quick run through of all the tools that we have here. This is basically my setup, the way I like to set up my SketchUp and use it every day. This has taken a while to figure out that this is the most efficient way to have your tools. The reason why I have these all undocked like this, these will dock. For instance, if I put this up here, I now have them in a dock. I don't like them in a dock, and the reason why is because if you minimize this, if you minimize the shape, see how everything stays like this? That's a good thing. And the reason why that's good is because if you squeeze this and they're all docked, I've seen it where everything that's on the dock bar gets all messed up. And then even when you blow it back up, it's all messed up and you have to spend the time to refix it. So I blow it up, I get it to where I like it, and I have a good usable space here. And then I go to View, Toolbars, and I just save the toolbar positions. And then every time I open up SketchUp, they'll be in those positions. Or if I change the positions of them, like I close them, I can go back up to View, Toolbars. Be careful that you don't hit Save Toolbars, but hit Restore those positions and they come back. So that's basically it. Thanks for watching my first video. Rate, comment, and subscribe, and tune in for some more videos.